Happy Thursday. It is our day once again. I am Taylor Andre, Taylor Made Real Estate Easy. And today is a special day for us because we are trying something new in our conversation. So I want to say for the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks now, we've met every Thursday and we've talked about mortgages. We talked about lending. We talked about rates. We talked about paperwork. We've went through the gamut of, we talked about credit. We went through the cycles of what it means to prepare for homeownership, but we also went through the baseline understanding of financial literacy. And if there are any other topics or anything that you would like for us to discuss that we have not, all you have to do is just slide in the DM, send an email, or make a call, and I will add that to our conversations. And today, our conversation is a little different because we are having a conversation with Dr. Gayle. So, Dr. Gayle is an amazing woman. She is a psychiatrist and is overall just a great person. And I'm really excited for today's conversation because we're talking about wealth and we're talking about mental wealth and what that means. So I believe, and everyone has their ideas of what everybody has opinions, right? I truly believe that if you are not healed in all aspects of your life, you're not going to have a relationship with money that is healthy. And so, for us to have healthy relationships with money, while we talk about financial literacy, while we talk about making real estate easy, it's also important to holistically talk about you as a human and what that means and how all these things tie in together. So it's great. You have money, you've made money, you've bought a house, you can sell a house, you can invest in houses. But what do you look like on the inside? And with that healing, sometimes we need help. Sometimes we can't do it on our own. And so Dr. Gayle Crump Swaby and I met back in my C Plan days. And she, from the moment I met her, is the most warm and welcoming person, um, the happiest. Like, I've never seen her mad. I've never seen her angry. I've never seen her frustrated. She is in control of all of her emotions at all of the time, regardless of the situation, and is able to really take complex ideas, feelings, and situations and break it down to the simplest molecule of what it means to be human and understanding the human nature, understanding all it is about who we are as human beings. And then she's also, in my opinion, she also is religious. So she has some religious ties to her. And so she's definitely a breath of fresh air. And her and I will be working together to bring to you in the June of 2025 Daddy's Issues. And this was something that I wanted to bring to life for years now, understanding that myself and many other humans have problematic relationships based on the relationship they had with one or both of their parents. And so, as we see in society, when it comes to women and how we conduct ourselves and how we show up in the world, some women are healed. I'm really excited for that. And some have some healing to do. And I'm one of the healings to do. And I'm okay with that. And Dr. Gayle is going to assist us in navigating really difficult conversations when it comes to being a woman in the world, dating, unmarried, and having daddy issues, and what that means for your current or non existent relationship today. And so that's not today's conversation, but that is something to get ready for, and that is something to prepare for in June of 2025. And leading up to that event, we will be having micro conversations. And so I'm trying to give Dr. Gayle a moment to log on. So I'm going to see if I can pause for a moment. Where is she? So for those that are tuning in, I am calling our guest today just to make sure that she doesn't need anything. She has the right link. And she is all set. And so I'm wondering if can we pause here? I don't think we can. I think this is like live. Yeah. There's no pausing. Link in your email. I feel like I should call her. Oh, it's not still paused. How do I get us back? Remove. There we are. Hey. Okay. So I don't even want to begin because I don't want to I do not want to say the wrong thing. I do not want to kick us off in the wrong way. And Dr. Gayle is extremely she's a realist. Like we're going to have realistic expectations, realistic conversations. I do think I might pause and give her a call. Pause. She's also a clinician, so she could be in session. And I am the queen of going over my time in therapy. So I can imagine other people as well, maybe going over their own time in therapy. So we're just going to give her a call real quick, see if we can possibly interrupt what she might have going on. Oh, wow. It's called a pivot table for a reason. So let us just open up the floor and have discussion. The definition of holistic health, or at least what I believe is my definition of holistic health. Holistic health is about more than just money. It's the integration of financial security. Financial security is one of the number one reasons why women feel unstable in their relationship. Financial security is one of the main reasons why people get divorced. So while we're having conversations about finances and financial literacy, and we're having conversations about what it means to be knowledgeable and educated, it's also important for the people around us to be educated. I'm put in the mindset of like how many student athletes go broke right after school because they didn't have the proper guidance. They felt like they had to take care of their family. They felt like they had to take care of their friends, when the first step of taking care of them was for their family and friends to have a better understanding of money and a better understanding of what it means to be financial literate, because it looks like I have all of this money, but the truth of the matter is maybe I don't. Maybe this money. Hey, Dr. Gayle.
Hey, Taylor, what's up?
I sent you the link.
Okay, great. To my email?
It is, and we are here now.
Okay. All right. So I should you said 6:30, right?
So we're from 6 to 7.
Oh, your thing told me 6:30. Okay.
No worries, no worries.
Okay.
I'm perfectly fine running my mouth for 30 minutes.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
All right. Okay. Okay. All right. So I'll try to. I'm just wrapping up something else. I thought it was at 6:30,
No
so I'm just wrapping.
worries. Okay. All right. Bye bye. Um, yes. And so going broke, and a lot of women, so there was a study that was done that said, why is it that Black women make all this money and they have these prominent positions at their job, but yet they're still continuously falling short financially? And even though Black women are the number one demographic when it comes to purchasing homes right now, what has come up, be nice, what has come up is the the burden of taking care of family, the burden of taking care of your parents, your younger siblings, your older siblings. It doesn't matter, especially when so many of us are probably like the first. We're the first in our family. We're the first in our lineage. We're the first in our friend group. We're the first in our cousin group. And so you get the hey, big time. You get the like, you and you could be making minimum wage, but it depends on where everybody else in your circle is. And so I think going back into mindset, as far as if you want to see what your future looks like, look at your five friends, because you will be the sixth one. They'll look at your four friends and you will be the fifth one. And so uh, I digress. Is the integration of financial security, emotional well being, mental resilience, and social connections. It emphasizes a balanced approach to living where financial decisions support a fulfilling and purposeful life. Financial decisions. Did you know when you go get a cup of Starbucks coffee, that is a financial decision? When you go for Dunkin' Donuts coffee, that is a financial decision. When you decide to stay home and make your own coffee, that is a financial decision. Now take that, pick it up, and put it anywhere else. Use any example. Your vacation is a financial decision. Where you choose to put your child, whether it's in a private school or a public school, is a financial decision. We make financial decisions every single day without one thought of it. We go to the gas station, we fill up our tank, we go up and down the aisles, and our $45 gas station trip turned into $55 because you spent $10 on snacks, because once upon a time you go to the store with $1 and come out with a whole feast. It's not like that anymore. And so understanding that every decision that we make is a financial one. What you choose to send your children to school with for lunch, or whether they eat at home for lunch, or whether they eat at school for lunch, all of that is a financial decision. So anytime you open your wallet, anytime you have your Apple Pay, anytime you send a Venmo or a Cash App, all of those are financial decisions that I want to like instill in your mind, that it is greater than just this bag of chips, this lollipop. It is a financial decision. And teaching our children about their financial decisions. What does it mean for you to have your money in your room safely? And why don't you spend your money? So you can save it. Why do you want to save it? So I can purchase what I want to purchase one day. So I can be able to have some after I make a purchase. Shout out to my cousin just wrote the ABCs of finances, and I think it's the dopest thing ever. The role of mental fitness in financial success. So mental fitness, your ability to manage stress, make sound decisions, and stay focused. How many times have you been stressed out? Have you not been feeling well, and you ended up going out to eat? You ended up going for drinks. You ended up purchasing some sheets, some shoes, a purse, outfits. most of the time when our mental health is not the strongest, we tend to look for things physically that are tangible, that we can touch, that we can identify with, to fill that void of either unsuccess or unfulfillment or unhappiness. Not all the times, but sometimes our purchases could be null and void if we were able to control our emotions. And so the mental fitness, your ability to manage stress, to control your stress, to control your emotions, and not your letting your emotions control you to the point of making purchases of things that you do not need, you do not want, and sometimes cannot afford. Making sound decisions so you can think for tomorrow instead of just for today, and staying focused on what your goals are. If you're saying that you want to buy a house, but you keep time after time after time draining your savings and maxing out your credit cards, you can't say that you want to purchase a house and for people to believe you when you've set this for the third fall that this is your year, but you have not been committed to yourself. And listen, I am the queen of lack of commitment, hence why these arms jiggle and shake and wave 2 or 3 times. Had I stuck to my commitment of not eating cookies, candies, and chocolates, I'd probably be a size 6. But the way my habits are set up, and they're habits, right? They're the things that you do every single day. It's not just the one time that you make a decision, it's the every single day decisions and consistency that no sir, no sir, no sir. Nope. We're gonna put it down and leave it. 3, 2, 1. Put it down. Put it down. I'm in a meeting right now and you have 3 seconds before I stop the meeting. 2 seconds. Thank you.
It's already open.
And it's not for you. And it's not yours. Please go in your room and read a book, or you can come back and sit with mommy. That's fine. Plays a crucial role in financial success. A strong mindset helps you resist impulsive spending, stick to long-term goals, and bounce back from financial setbacks. So sticking to not just short-term, not just long-term goals, but even your short-term goals. And it doesn't even have to be finances with short-term goals. It could be anything that you are planning for and maybe procrastinating on. Building financial health through a holistic approach. A holistic approach to financial health includes managing your money. If you do not know how much money you have, where does your money go, you will not know how to manage it. So let's say, for instance, last year you worked, and then you even worked overtime, and you made $50,000. Out of that $50,000, you spent $30,000 on housing, food, and the things that you need. You look at your savings and you have $30 in your savings, and you're like, where did the rest of my $20,000 go? I made $50,000. All of my expenses came up to $30,000. We're using even number. We're keeping it super simple right now. You may be making more. You may be making less. Where you are is where you are, and nobody else is where you're supposed to be. And so where's that other $20,000? Now, if you take account for the things that you do and take account for the money that you spend, you can say, you know what? I actually do know. I know that I spent, $4,500 on travel for the year. I spent $1,500 on outside recreational things. I spent another $7,000 on outside food throughout the year, the Uber Eats, the restaurants, girls' night out, and I spent the remaining money on knick-knack paddywhacks. Well, you know what? Now I can understand, do I need this knick-knack paddywhack? No, I do not. There's another penny that's saved. And I will be a billionaire picking up pennies, especially when pennies are like this penny is worth $250. I be finding all the pennies. I pick up all the pennies. But putting your pennies together, saving your pennies, as my grandmother would say, and just being mindful where your money goes. Maybe you make more than 50,000. Maybe you make 500,000. It does not matter how much money you make if you are not tracking what you're spending. If you're not understanding where your money is going, whether you make 50,000 or 500,000 or 5 million, you're going to continue with bad money habits because you're not tracking what it is that you spend and you have no clue where your money is going. And so a holistic approach is not just saying, hey, you understand money, you make more money, you have this money. It's like, you know what? Not only do I have this money, but I know how to play with it. I know how to make it work for me. I know how to work with it. I know how to manage it. I know how to control it. And it does not control me. Aligning your financial decisions with your values, whether that's political values, are you donating to certain causes? It's about setting realistic goals. So you say that you want to buy $1 million property, but right now you make $25,000 a year. That's at this time is unrealistic. Yes, people can hit the lottery, but based on your own accords and what you bring to the table, can you purchase that $1 million property right now? No. So let's talk about that as a long-term goal, and what are the short-term goals that you can achieve in order to get you to that $1 million property. Managing debt. All of us have debt. It does not matter who. Prince has debt and he don't even have a job. When we come into this world, we are indebted to our parents, to those that have raised us, to our guardians. We are in debt in one way, shape, or form. And that's why many of us feel guilty when our parents get older, and we want to make sure that they have the best care for them, just like they gave to us. And one of the things that falls under giving them the best care is making sure that the money that they plan for retirement is acts accordingly. I am blessed that I don't have an auntie or a grandmother that is, for example, there's a family that is having difficulty managing debt. The grandparents were all out here doing what they need to do many, many moons ago, went ahead and purchased single families and multifamilies throughout the years, failed to properly educate the kids, because what happens in my house stays in my house, and my business is my business and not my children's business. And so your children didn't know your business, and now that they're big and grown, they don't know how to help you. And I'm talking to my elders, and I'm talking to my grown people that interact with elders. There are many great aunties and great uncles and grandparents that are currently a victim of financial abuse by their nieces, their nephews, their grandchildren. And sometimes these elders don't even know because it's not being tracked. So they're getting checks, they have rental income, they have money that they set aside, that they put aside, and the kids didn't found the account. This all, for me, this is all holistic. It's not separate. And holistically, if we're having real conversations about the healing portion of the person before you even start engaging in money. So you think for 5 seconds, so a young woman called me and she told me that she was going through some hardship. She was trying to find a solution, and she named 2 of her aunts that were financially abused. One of the elders by her grandchildren, and the other elders didn't have any children, but by her nieces and nephews, dipping into things and co-signing and stealing. It's stealing from the elders. And it made me think, had we been properly informed about what a trust was, couldn't nobody dip into anything, because it was in an entire trust. Puppy, you had like 3 bites. The bowl's not even dirty. Was it good? Did you like it? Okay.
Can I have some cereal? Can we make some milk?
I'll make some milk when I finish, okay? I want you to eat some more Sketties. Like maybe 8 more bites. Um, had the property been in a trust, had the finances been in a trust, no person could touch it, or based on what that elder set as far as parameters are concerned. This is generational. This is the healing. If these young people were healed and properly educated, do you think that their conscious would allow them to do something so dirty to somebody who's been doing nothing but taking care of them all their life, as far as these elders are concerned? So for me, yes, it's levels to this, and these are different pockets that we're talking about. But again, we're talking about holistic wealth. What does holistic wealth mean? And to me, Taylor made real estate easy. Holistic wealth looks like healing the whole person, educating the whole person, integrating the whole person into having a better relationship with self in order to have a better relationship with money, to then have a better relationship economically with society. And once you have the best relationship economically with society, you can now build the foundation for your legacy for your future generations. And so right now, that is my heartbeat. My heartbeat is laying the foundation. I understand that Rome will not be built within my entire lifetime, but if I can at least lay the foundation for my future generations, then something can be built upon it. But if I lay down nothing and leave it bare and leave it barren, there's no telling where my offsprings will be doing or will be accomplishing, or how they will be harmed by the lack of finances that I failed to prepare for them. Moving on, managing debt, saving for the future, and making choices that enhance your overall quality of life. How emotional well-being influences wealth creation. Some of the richest people on earth. I want you to, before we even talk about the things that were prepared, I want you to, how emotional well-being influences wealth creation. I don't care if you like them, if you agree with their policies, if you like their political views or their sports teams. If you look at wealthy people, seldomly will you find an overweight, sickly, wealthy person. A wealthy person understands that before I can cultivate this thing called wealth, I have to cultivate this thing called health. I have to fix me, put me together before I can even think about putting together these deals. And so emotional well-being influences wealth creation, because when you feel good, you start pouring into yourself differently. When your insides are feeling good, when your health feels good, you're able to do more, accomplish more, be more creative, be one with your divinity, whether it's your divine feminine or your divine masculine. You're one with your divinity because you're taking care of your holistic self. When your emotions like fear, stress, or even excitement can influence financial decisions. If you're stressed out and you are fearing that you're not going to be able to pay your rent, you're like, there's a different type of beast that comes out of you when you fear homelessness. Transparency, and I really, want to share that once upon a time, I did not realize just how not triggered, um, like financial insecurity, housing insecurity. I did not realize how strongly housing insecurity weighed on my life. And it was not until probably like 6 months into home ownership where my housing insecurity was like lifted. It took me 6 months to get my license out of my mama's house because I can move anywhere. I could be anywhere. I could do anything. I know that that is a house that I can go to at any point in time. I know that's where I could send my mail to. I know if I need to, I might be able to sleep there. Like the mentality that I had, it took, I think it was actually more than 6 months. I think it was like a year and a half before I changed my license, before I changed my credit card address. Mind you, prior to home ownership, I lived in a property for 10 years. For 10, like 10 years. Never had any like, oh, I'm gonna kick you out. I had a sense, or at least I thought I had a sense of housing security. But it wasn't until I purchased my house a year later and it hit me, it dawned on me, I don't have to use my mom's address. I don't have to have mail sent somewhere else. And so a lot of us have a lot of trauma when it comes to money, because if I had money, I would have multiple houses and I wouldn't have that trauma, right? So it is stemmed back to the money piece. But our guest is here. I'm very excited for Dr. Gayle Crump Swaby. And so Dr. Gayle, really quickly, before I pull her on, we have discussed holistic wealth, the definition of holistic wealth, the role of mental fitness and financial success, building financial health through a holistic approach, how emotional well-being influences wealth creation. And what we have not covered is the practical steps to achieve mental and financial harmony. And so, as I stated earlier, Dr. Gayle Crump Swaby is one of the most amazing humans I've ever met. I met her through my C-Plan journey, the Union for Parents, the Voice for Parents, the voice for families that are sick and tired of the same old same when it came to education here in Massachusetts and New England. And so I met Dr. Gayle in a space of advocacy, and she is definitely an advocate for your well-being, for your highest and best, for family healing. And if we don't heal the family, then we're dooming the children in the sense. And so without any further ado, I bring to you Dr. Gayle Crump Swaby. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You know how we do it. We go from one thing to the next.
I know. Back to back. And so what I would like for you to do is for you to give us your rendition of the role that finances play in mental health, and how that plays a role in our households.
Okay. All right. That's a huge order, but I'm gonna do my best. So let's talk first about financial health, which I know you talked about, and the importance of what that looks like. So it looks different for different people and how people think about financial health. So then when you think about financial health, you're also thinking about your own mental health, your own emotional health, and your physical health too as well, because they all go hand in hand. So when you think about looking at the importance and the connection between financial health and mental health and emotional health, it's really important for us to first begin to recognize the history of, especially within Black and Brown communities, right? The history of and the role in which finances play in our lives, and the root of the importance of the absence thereof in terms of finances, in addition to when we do have the finances, the way in which we extend or utilize or spend that money that or those finances that we do have. So what happens when we are in a space where maybe our finances are not at the greatest? And with that comes some additional external kinds of things. So maybe we're not able to, pay our rent or mortgage on time. Maybe we have to be more cautious about, purchasing of food and clothing and how are we paying our bills, those kinds of things. So when those things become an issue, then it certainly will impact our emotional health, our emotional well-being, and also our mental health. Because if we don't feel like we have the resources available to us to take care of our basic needs, then that impacts the other need for wellness, the need for being emotionally well, the need to be mentally well. So the two tends to go, the three or the four tends to go hand in hand, because it can also impact our physical health too as well, because we may not we may have insurance or may not have insurance, right? And if we don't have insurance, or the kind of insurance that we have, the deductible is high. If you don't have the finances to manage that or to take care of that, because our physical health needs to be taken care of, then that also impacts our mental health. So the all of those things are very inclusive of how much it impacts our wellness holistically. So it's inclusive of all those things: our spiritual health, our mental health, our physical health, our financial health and well-being. And so those are the things. So that's my quick and dirty kind of response to that question.
You know, I know this isn't popular conversation, but when you said, our history with
Mm,
money, that really, it was a moment that I didn't think of. A point in history when we were money, a point in history where we were, the product, um, and had no access to anything. Um, that really stung. It
mhm,
hurt a little bit more than I thought it was going to. And it was a part of the conversation that I really wasn't expecting. And so when you think about our history with money, one time being the product,
mhm,
and knowing that memory, DNA has memory. One of the stories that I was telling right before you jumped on was, prior to being a homeowner, I had stability. I lived in one single home for 10 years. Prior to that, I lived in one single home for 4 years. Like, I've had long standing relationships in the homes that I didn't own.
mm,
But it took me a year and a half after homeownership to even change the license address to reflect
mm,
where I lived versus where I wanted my mail to go.
mm.
And um it made me think, like, if we can, so that's something that I just personally observed for myself, but what is the psychology behind that?
It's a protection, and it's a safety net, because it seems so many people do that, right? It's I'm not sure that this thing that I just acquired is going to last me long, right? Because we have that mentality that we are not worthy of certain things. We're not
Mm,
worthy to be a homeowner. We're not worthy to be in the kind of positions that we need to be in. We're not worthy to hold on to money. So what happens is that, those reels keep playing in our heads. So then we hold on to the things that we think that are our safety net. So you deciding, well, I'm going to keep this license address for now because I'm not sure how much longer I may be in this space, because history tells us that things are often stolen from us, right? History also tells us that, there are those who don't believe that we can attain wealth, right? Or we should have any kind of financial wealth. So those beliefs, those thoughts are brainwashed in us, not because we put it there for ourselves. It's because of those generational beliefs that have been passed on from another. So we
mhm,
hold on to the things that we think are our safety nets and our protection, and we have this psychological hold to it. So it makes it even more difficult for us to break the chain. So it's that mental slavery that we continue to hold on to, and that makes it difficult for us to actually break the chains from those things. So that was like your protection, right?
mhm,
In terms
yeah, it
of,
was.
I'm gonna keep this because history tells me that, folks have stolen stuff from us, right? Or taken stuff from us, or makes us believe that it's not going to last very long. So let me just hold on to this thing just in case I need to go
Mhm,
back.
mhm. Yes. Okay. So, of course, I don't like the way that felt, but it was honest and it needed to be said.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm,
Another thing that you mentioned was about like the security part and
mm-hmm,
the feeling of security. And so when we talk about security, there's some things with the physical and the tangible and something that I can hold. It feels more secure than the financial strength of being able to fall back on something on a rainy day. And
mm-hmm.
so where does that stem from? Like I know it's based on consumption, but aside from the consumption part, what is it in humans that is comforted by the physical instead of the mental comfort of not having to struggle in the future? And so we'd rather spend the money that we really don't have instead of saving it for when we actually need it.
Mm, mm. That can come from several places, right? So some of that may come from, what we observed, our caregivers doing or family members doing, in terms of, the belief that, hey, life is not long, you only live one day at a time, so then, go ahead and spend it, right? Who you keeping it for, who you saving it for, that kind of stuff, right? So there's that. And then there's the other side to that is, you know folks also believing or thinking that, um, you know, in order to feel as though we have something, we need to spend the money to show that we are worthy to have these things. So we may have, we may have a good amount of wealth. However, as a way to feel a sense of, um, ownership, or a sense of, I have arrived, then people go out and spend money to say, oh, I have a great car, or, I these, this clothing from these, expensive stores, or I can have two cars, I can, get as much jewelry as I want, that kind of stuff, because of the lack thereof. because you had an experience of the lack thereof, now that you have it, you want to spend it to show that I have arrived, and this is how I can use, it's my money and I can do whatever I want to do with it, which is true. Yet, how are you building that generational kind of health and wealth, right?
Mhm.
Because we have to have good financial health as well.
Yes. So when we talk about emotional well-being influencing wealth creation, how does like emotions like fear or stress or even excitement can influence the financial decisions that we make? And how can stress be harmful to our finances while also being harmful to our bodies?
Mm, mm, mm. So when you think about stress and when you think about emotions, a lot of times I say to, folks that I work with, clients that I work with, don't make decisions when you're in an emotional place. Don't make decisions when you're stressed. Don't make decisions when you're overwhelmed, because those decisions may come back to bite you in certain ways that you least expected. So it is with money, right? If your finances, if you feel as though you have this opportunity to get something, right, but the opportunity is coming to you at a time when you are not in a good place, you are already stressed about your finances, you're already stressed about maybe your work situation, you're already stressed about maybe things are happening within your relationships, whether it be a significant other, whether it be children, whether it be friendships. And then an opportunity, a quote unquote opportunity arises, and you say to yourself, well, I'm going to go ahead and do this because I think it's the best thing for me to do, which includes, using your finances. Those are not the best times to make decisions, because the mind is in a place of, a lot of times wanting comfort, wanting a quick fix, wanting to be able to make yourself feel a little bit better. There's some folks who loves to shop, right? And would say things like, I'm a bargain shopper. So whenever I know that there's a sale happening or a bargain, a particular place that is having a sale, and I have the money, I'm going to go out and get it.
Mm-hmm.
So are you shopping because it's there's this thing that you need, or are you shopping to fulfill an emotional need?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's the kinds of things that happens, is that we tend to be mistaken by what our emotions are telling us, what our feelings are telling us, what the stress is telling us, and we make decisions from those lenses, and not from a lens of clarity, not from a lens of let me take a moment to really sit back and see if this is what I really want to do, because my body and my mind is telling me something different, and then I have my finances over here where it's not the best, but if I get this thing, it might make me feel better, right? So that's oftentimes what might be happening for someone.
So, for those that currently are not in therapy and they get their therapy through retail, what are some of the things that you say to your patients about managing emotions? And what is it about retail therapy that soothes us and makes us feel comforted? When anytime I've ever retail shop, I promise you, I have always brought it back. Like, or at least regretted that I purchased it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because we're not clear. We're not in a place where we are, really thinking about, um, how am I spending this money, right? Am I doing it from a place of, I really want to feel good right now, and I know that when I'm wearing my special shoes, that I'm feeling good. But then you look at your bank account, and your bank account doesn't feel as good as your feet is feeling, maybe with that pair of shoes, or that nice dress, or whatever it is, that, or that nice pocketbook or purse, or that new car you just bought, right? So what I usually say to clients of mine who they say, well, I do retail therapy. I tell them to stop and think about what that means for them. What does retail therapy means? Is it that you are going out and purchasing because in that moment, or in many moments, you are feeling down, you are feeling sad, you are feeling frustrated, you are feeling angry? So I say, check in with yourself first before you check in with your checkbook, right? Because it is so important that when you are at this space of, I'm angry, so this is what I do when I get angry. I go shopping, right? And you may go shopping. However, you may end up feeling even more angry and frustrated after you've purchased this thing that you really didn't want, right? And when you
Mhm.
take a moment to really sit back and check in with yourself and realize, you know, I got this pocketbook out of anger. Now that I'm looking around, it doesn't match with anything that I have. I really don't like the size anymore. The color is not right. That kind of stuff. So I often
Mhm.
tell them, take a moment when you know that you're getting ready to hit that button to say, you know, um, purchase. Either you are online shopping, because now folks don't have to leave their homes, right? Folks can actually do a lot of shopping online. So, it's really paying attention to, when you go to purchase, is it out of a want that's going to make you feel better, or is it a need that is going to be a lifelong lasting kind of need, that it's going to be, it's you're not doing it out of a place of hurt and frustration and anger and emotions and all those kinds of places, because then now you're left with the regrets. And so then the hurt, the emotion, the sadness, the anger, it doesn't go away quickly once you make that purchase, because it may fulfill that feeling for a moment, for momentarily time, but after that, those feelings are just back, those emotions are just back. So you didn't resolve it in any way. What you
Mm.
did, put a little bandage on it to make
Mhm.
yourself feel a little better, but you didn't end up feeling any better after a couple of days, or after a couple of weeks, or after a couple of months. And then when you look at that purchase, you you may look back at that purchase and say, I bought this purse when I was angry with Timothy. Now you don't like the purse anymore because you bought it. It reminded you that you had a falling out with XYZ person, or it
Yeah.
reminded you of, something else that happened. So now those feelings and those emotions are coming back because this
Hmm.
purchase out of your frustration, your anger, your emotions.
Mm. What is in your experience, how much of people's finances or
Ma.
uh,
I.
how much of people's financial
My.
difficulties or hardships are directly connected to unhealed trauma?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, there's many, connections to unhealed trauma. So I can take you to another place, right? The root of those traumatic experiences that are connected to finances, right? So when you think about, I mean, I started before talking a little bit about that, but when you think about the ways in which, you know, did a parent use money to as a way to punish you, right? Or a caretaker, or anyone, right? Use money or finances as a way to punish you. So then you don't have a really great relationship with money, because you see money as that's connected to your trauma, right? Or finances that are connected to your trauma. Or you may have a caretaker or parents who just spend, and didn't in any way use some of those finances for your own well-being, like food and clothing and shelter and all those kinds of things. So then when you think about finances, you think of it from a place of, traumatic experiences. So then therefore, those things, when not discussed or talked about, then they show up the same ways that it showed up, when you were younger. And a lot of times we are responding to things not from our current core self in terms of the age that we are now. We are responding to things, those traumatic experiences, those financial traumatic experiences, the age of when it first happened, those traumatic experiences happen because we are being activated. So we respond like the 12-year-old who, whose parent might have held back from utilizing the finances to get them the things that they needed, right? So then when their relationship with money or finances triggers or activates their trauma, because there was no resolution to those feelings, those beliefs that came along with that experience.
So, what are some of the ways, therapy is helpful, and I'm new to therapy. I absolutely love it. We had a break in session.
Awesome.
Um, uh, I guess my insurance rejected the claim, and we, built up a hefty bill. And my therapist said, like, let's take a pause to make sure that we get these claims paid, so you don't have to come out of pocket. And I missed a week, and I thought my whole world was gone. I was like, how did I ever live without a therapist? And now that I have one, I'm like, listen, I'm here. 15 minutes before we start, I'm here. I'm waiting on you. And so therapy is amazing for those that are open and welcome to receiving help, or even first, without even receiving, like first being able to ask for help. For those that are scared, not ready, unprepared, uninsured, what are some of the steps that they can take in repairing their relationship with money?
Yeah. Start to take, I would say, begin to take an inventory of, your what does money mean to you? We all need it. So that's the thing about it, right? Money is something that we all need. It's something that it requires us to, have as a way to live, right? Because it's how we engage in transactions, right? However, it's important to make sure that our relationship with money is not just transactional, that our relationship with money is knowing, why do I need it? What do I need it for? And how is it helpful and connected to my own health and emotional, mental wellness, right? And how can I really develop this relationship with money from a place of curiosity. And when I say a place of curiosity, what I'm talking about is just being curious about what makes me spend money the way that I do. Am I doing it from a place of, well, I have it, so I might as well spend it? Am I doing it from a place of, well, I never had it, so now that I have it, it's mine and I can do whatever I want to do with it? Looking at it from a place of, when I go to, spend it or use it or engage in transaction with it, what am I feeling? What are my emotions that are connected to it? So those are ways in which we can begin to develop what our relationship is with money. The same way you develop a relationship with someone you care about, someone you love, someone you want to build a healthy relationship with. It's the same way you want to engage in your own building of relationship with money. Because if you don't have that kind of mindset, then it takes away from your ability to build a wealth that you're trying to build. And don't get me wrong, there are other factors that gets in the way. So we've got things like racism, oppression, and all those things, the external things that we may not have control over, that impacts our ability to maybe have a healthy relationship with money. However, it doesn't stop us from beginning to be realistic about, yes, these things do exist, and that's out of my control. Now, what's within my control when it comes to me creating or building or engaging in a relationship with our finances, our money? Because what we do, and if you have children, our children will turn around and do the same thing too as well. And if our goal is to pass on a legacy of building wealth, and I'm talking about wealth from in terms of spiritual wealth, financial wealth, emotional wealth, mental wealth, educational wealth, social wealth, if we are thinking of it from that perspective, then we need and we want our children, we want to pass on that legacy. It's really important for us to look at all those aspects and see how much they are interconnected to just our being and our living.
You said a lot, Dr. Gayle, and my first question is, we talked a little bit about tracking your spending. Where is your money going? And you can't track, or you can't manage what you don't track. And whether you make $5,000 a year, $50,000 a year, or $5 million a year, you are not in a healthy relationship with finances if you're not able to track, and when we look at some of the wealthiest people, they can track it down to a penny, as the tax man wants you to. And many of us don't know, like, I don't know where I spent that $70,000. Like, many of us have no clue where our money's going. And I thought it really interesting for you to say, not only are you tracking your money, but how are you feeling when you track this money? Like, what did you, when you spent it, what was the feeling that you received when you spent that dollar, that $100, that $1,000? And when you said that, it reminded me of when I was young. My cousin and I went into SKBs, and for the first time ever, like, I had my little paper route, so I had some money, and so she wanted to get a bag of chips, and I had like this feeling of pride because I had it in my pocket. I was just like, get two. And so it's a joke today where I'm like, can you pass me a napkin? She was just like, you want two? And so to be able to, like, I remember that feeling of pride. Like, whatever you want, you
Hmm.
can have it. You want another one? Like,
Yeah.
you're good.
But did you need the other one?
No,
Right?
probably
That's the
not.
thing.
No.
Right? So that's the thing. We do it out of, wanting that. It's like the lack thereof, the void that we have is wanting to fill that void. So we get two, we get three, we get four, we get five when all we need was one.
Was that one? Mhm.
Yeah.
And another thing that came up as far as like questions was people that hoard money. And regardless, again, it doesn't matter if you make 5,000, 50,000, 5 million. People that hoard money, where does that come from? And like that selfishness with a penny, the Uncle Scrooge. Where does that stem from psychologically?
Yeah, so that, that's it. So it can go either, right, in terms of people who are hoarding money, or it may seem like they're Scrooge when you didn't have, you know, let's say you grew up in a household where, there wasn't enough, right? So then when you get an opportunity to get it, you just kind of hold on to it because you're afraid of the fact that you may end up losing it. So you don't spend it as much. You hold on to it. It's like who hoard food, people who hoard clothing. You didn't have an opportunity to have the amount of clothes that you need to have, so you go out and you buy clothes, right? So it's the same thing with money. If you didn't have it as much, then once you get it, there's this part of your brain that's telling you, you better hold on to it, because if you don't hold on to it, you could easily lose it, and you'll go back into that place of, where you were when you didn't have it. So just going back to, a couple of things I said earlier is that, a lot of our emotions and feelings and experiences we are responding to those things from the age we were when those things happen or when we experience it. So we may think that, so my 50 something year old self may think that, well, I need to hoard money because, when I was 5, I noticed, or 6 or 7, I noticed that my parents didn't have money, or they were spending, spending, spending. So now that I am 56, I need to do that. I need to hold on to it because my younger self is telling me, right? I'm responding from that place. My younger self is telling me, oh, well, you never had it, so you better hold on to it, right? So that's the kinds of things that are happening. Um, a lot of times people don't want to do these things, but the way in which our brain works, it reminds us of those moments when things were not going well. So we begin to protect from the place of that age we were when those things happened, or when we had void in our lives. So now that we have it, we don't want to feel that void anymore, so we hold on to it because we're afraid of, if we let it go, then we're going to begin to feel like we felt when we were 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, whatever that age was.
What strategies can I engage in if I do have that, right? I'm an 80s baby. I can
Hmm.
imagine I was not the only one that experienced what I experienced. So for us that and stop here and rewind a little bit, I'm remembering my my mother's parents and her aunts and uncle, and when one of our family members passed, we looked in the cabinet and it was like expired 15 years ago. We shake it, there's no can, there's no Coke in the can, like it evaporated and the can has never been opened. That's how long it's been sitting for. And so when you think about those that experience the Great Depression and
Mm.
recessions throughout the years, and nothing ever went to waste, one, and two, we stocked up on all that we could in order to, make sure that we never have to go through lack again. And so our
Yes.
parents are now behaving in a way that our grandparents were behaving. And we're now acting in a way that our parents were behaving because of what they saw. And it reminds me of the story of the girl who was watching her mom cut the ham. And she's like, Mom, why do you always cut the butt off the ham? And she was just like, I don't know. Grandma always used to do it. She like, Grandma, why you always used to cut off the butt of the ham? She's just like, because your great grandma used to do it. And I said, Great grandma, why you used to always cut off the butt of the ham? She said, because the pan was little. And so we do it, like, mind you, our pans are huge and we didn't have to cut off the butt of the ham, but we were doing so because somebody before us did it because of
Started
what
this tradition.
yeah.
Right.
Um,
Right.
And so what are ways, like actual strategies that we can begin to implement to kind of shed those beliefs? Again,
Mhm.
it's so DNA has memory. So not only do we have this mental memory of what we experienced as a child, but we also have this physical innate inside of us memory that does know what lack is and fears going back to that lack. And so what can we do to shed those beliefs, to shed those feelings, and to work towards a more abundant mindset?
Okay. So if you don't have a therapist, then you know there are certain questions that I often tell people to begin to ask themselves, these self-reflection kind of questions. You know, what are some things that are hindering my ability to grow, right? And just take a moment to think of those things, to list those things. What is hindering my ability to grow? And then the other question you want to ask yourself, and after you've reflected on that and you know what those things are, right? And it may take a while for you to get it because it may not come as quickly, right? You want to ask yourself as well, is it helpful or is it harmful? If you feel that it's helpful, again, you're looking at, in what ways is it helping me? So if it's helping you and you find that it is, meaning that it's not causing you any stress, it's not causing you to be anxious, it's not causing you feelings of depression, it's not causing you to be worried, it's not causing you, then by all means continue to do those things, right? Because it's helpful. But if it's harming you, if it's causing you to spend money frivolously, and you have to, you are making good money, but by the end of every pay period, your money is gone because you are not paying attention to how much you're spending, then it's harming you. It could be harming you, it could be harming your family, those kinds of stuff. So in what ways is it harming you? In the way of your lights getting shut off, your car getting repossessed, you don't have enough food in terms of to feed your children, bills are not getting paid, now I'm stressed, now I'm sad, now I'm borrowing money that I don't have to give. Those are ways that it might harm you. So then you look at that and say, this is really not good for my mental health and my well-being. So then the next question that you want to ask yourself and reflect on, what am I willing to let go of? What is this belief that I have about money and how I use money and how I, what does it mean for me? What do I need to release and let go in terms of values and belief systems that are connected and related to money? How do I let go of that? And then once you have gotten to that place of realizing that, you're ready to release and to let go, then that's where the hard work comes, is now putting an action in place to release it and to let it go. And of course, I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying that it happens overnight, but it's really being intentional about not passing on what you just described, this belief that we have to cut off the butt of the ham in order to, because then now it's it's not getting you to where you need to get to. So that belief system, is it still helping me? Is it still getting me to where I need to get to? Or is it causing me more stress? So it's releasing it, letting it go. And it's not just, yes, releasing it and letting it go. It's being intentional about doing something different. And when you find yourself moving in the direction of the thing that you're trying to let go, pause, stop yourself and say, wait a second, I need to pivot, because this thing that I'm going towards is a thing that I'm trying to let go. And we will fall, right? Because we're human. And when you're trying to shift and do something different, they say what, you have to do something for 30 days continuously for it to be change or to become a habit or something to that effect. So it's being intentional about it, telling yourself, well, today, I'm going to scratch this belief system and create a new belief system. So now it's you creating a new narrative that's healthy, that's worthy, that puts you in that place of an abundance lifestyle, right? Not just abundance in terms of physical being, physical things, but abundance in terms of good health, mental health, emotional health, because we are going to get sad. We are going to have disappointments. Those things are inevitable. They do happen. But what the piece that is important for us is, how do we find joy even in the midst of those things, right? So now you have to create a joy mindset, right? That I'm going to maintain my joy despite the fact that, yes, I may fall on this path, that of this thing, this belief that I'm trying to let go of and release of, and I'm trying to create something new. Sometimes this works for some people and for doesn't. I said release either by maybe writing this thing down and burning it, or going to some water and making it dissolve into water, right? Or burying it in the soil, and maybe burying a seed of a flower that you love, right? So then therefore, you bury it with that.
Grows, you're also growing in a new direction, and because you let go of that thing that was holding you back.
Absolutely. Yes.
I'm about to plant all the flowers now. We'll have a garden. So I want to talk a little bit. So when we talk about emotions, it's typically from like a bad point of view or a negative point of view, where your emotions are making you overspend or make you overeat or make you overindulge in something or another. But when your emotions come from like a place of joy, as you was talking about, like replacing that, whatever it was, with joy, how does that go hand in hand with those that are healthy make more money? Those that are physically wealthy end up making more financial wealth as well.
I'm trying to if you can rephrase that question, trying to
So when
say
we
a
look
little
at
bit more about your question.
So when we look at wealthy people are seldomly sickly, seldomly overweight, and seldomly like openly depressed. How does having that joy also help with obtaining more physical wealth?
Mm,
Does that make
So
more
so here's the thing, right? So there's some things that are outside of our control, right? In terms of, especially when it comes to maybe our physical health. There's some things that we can do to make sure that we are physically wealthy, right? And then there are other things that might be out of our control, because it's sometimes it's the way the body works, sometimes it's genetics,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff, right? So those are the things. So if I'm not mistaken, if I'm picking up on what your question is, even in the midst of those things, how do you maintain, or how do you keep your joy, or how do you, because so when I think about emotions, right? We have them, and they're gonna come, and then they're gonna go. And I'm sure we have all heard this. Feelings are not facts. They're not facts, right? They're just feelings. That's what they are. They come and they go. There is this poem by an author called, I think it's called Rumi. I think that's his name, his or her. I'm not sure if it's male or female. But they talk about the invited guests. And it talks about, um, think of your emotions, your feelings, and all those things as invited guests, right? When you, and sometimes they are uninvited, but they show up anyway. So think of it as a guest that comes to your home. They're not there to stay, right? They come, you sit with them, you engage in conversation, you embrace them, but eventually those guests leave because they're not there to stay. So think of your emotions and your feelings and all those things in that way, that, they are going to show up because of maybe things that happens in our lives that is out of our control. And sometimes there are things that happen in our lives that's within our control. So it's really important for us to sit with those feelings and see them as guests, but don't let them find a home in your body, right? Don't let them stay. You invite them in when they show up, you embrace them, you get to know them, and then you let them go. You let them leave and go back to where they need to. Don't let them take up room. Don't let them start to rent. Don't give them anything that that's going to take away from your joy. So you sit with them, you experience them, you embrace them, and then you let them go.
Mm. So it's like having a spare room in your house and letting people come and visit, but not spend the night.
You don't let them stay.
She
Don't
said,
let them.
no forever people over here.
You don't let them stay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we are coming to the top of our hour together, and
Mhm.
I think we covered a lot. We covered um, how feelings and emotions are fleeting, and to allow our feelings and emotions to control our finances is something that many of us do, and it's a
Yeah,
learned behavior. But
mm,
with choices that we make, we can begin to make new choices that not only benefit us, but more is taught than is caught. Hold on, no, more is caught than is
that is
taught. And
smart.
so we can teach our children everything in the world, but if we're not exhibiting those behaviors, they're not going to catch on to any of it. They're going
Correct.
to catch on to what they see us do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so, today may not have been the easiest conversation for many people that have unhealthy relationships with their finances. And you, again, I want to reiterate, you do not have to be wealthy to have a positive relationship with your
Correct.
finances. And you don't have to be poor or broke in order for
Mm-hmm.
you to have a negative relationship with
Correct.
finances. The amount of money you make, have, keep, spend has no correlation to how you relate to money.
Absolutely. 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 There's prosperity, and then there is, your relationship to that prosperity. So we should all aspire to be prosperous, right? Um, However, as we're aspiring to have prosperity, we need to also pay attention to, what is our relationship to that? What does that look like? Right? Because if we are not, if that's not aligned, if all those are not aligned, then that's where the imbalance comes, and that's where the challenges come, that's where the stress comes, that's where our emotions get all wacky and get out of place, and then we're reminded of those experiences that we had, we saw our parents have with money, and we fall back into those patterns because that's what we know, that's what's comfortable, and that's what feels safe. It's like our protector. We hold on to the things that we think that is, giving us some sense of security, when in reality it's building it's building a insecure protective wall around us.
It's a wall, all right. It just ain't protective. So, Dr. Gayle, I'm really excited for our future conversations. I did speak earlier about an endeavor that we are embarking on regarding June and our event together, and thought that this is a good step in the right direction. I think holistic health is a better way to help people engage with their finances when it's not just your relationship with money, but understanding why you have that relationship and how to better manage that relationship, and to at the same time being able to manage self in the relationship that you have with yourself. And so I think it's I thought it to be irresponsible for us to have a conversation about, daddy issues and absent parents without having like a preface as to who we are today and why we feel the way we do, or identifying, where that feeling came from. Like, why do you feel the way you do? Not just about money, about how you engage in the world, how you engage with yourself. And once you have a better understanding of you, because sometimes, and this is not everyone, sometimes you tend to blame your parents for what they did or did not do. And that's cool for when you're 12, 13, 14. But when I was a child, I thought as a child, and now that I'm an adult, you're right. You have the responsibility to identify your pain and neutralize it. It may not ever go away. It may not ever be healed, but for you to be able to identify it and then be able to give grace to those that were really in the same predicament you're currently in now. Yeah. And I saw something on Instagram that said, when you realize that your mom's just a girl in the world. And I was like, oh, my daughter sent it to me. And I was just like,
oh, nice. And it's important that we pay attention to whose burdens are we carrying. Is it the ones we picked up along the way that belongs to someone else, or is it our own? If it's your own, then you gotta release it. But if it's somebody else's, don't carry it, because it's not yours to carry, right? So knowing whose burdens it is, and when you're spending money, when you're doing all of these things, whose voice are you hearing in your head? Is it your voice, or is it the voice of somebody else who said, this is what you should do, this is how you should do it, this is, that kind of stuff. So pay attention to whose burdens you're carrying, and make sure that if it's yours, then it's yours. You got to deal with it. But if it's someone else's, give it back to them, and you deal with your own.
And you know what? And sometimes you don't even have to give it back. You could just plant it.
There you go. Let a beautiful flower grow out of it. Yeah.
I think that would be a really fun activity, Dr. Gayle, if we were able to like have little cups with seeds.
With soil.
Yeah,
Yep.
and people
Yep.
can bury their burdens.
Yep. Bury your burdens and then put a seed of, a particular flower or a plant or something that you feel is going to grow along with you on that new path that you are creating. So, yeah.
I'm really excited for this. And can we bump that out a little bit? Can we like table that specifically on what that activity looks like?
We
And
definitely can. Yeah.
I'm excited. And so, Dr. Gayle, thank you. I'm excited for
You're
you to
welcome.
come back once a month as we do these every Thursday at 6 p.m. And you know what? You are absolutely right. I'm just on cue for 6 p.m., but you had an engagement and we moved it to 6:30 to 7:30. So that was all 1,000% on me. Being consistent at
But
least.
you're forgiven. That's what grace is, right? Got to give grace, compassion, and grace. So you got to have it for yourself, so that you can extend it to others. So, yeah.
Amen. You are popular. Your phone been going off the whole time we were together. So how are you taking new patients?
No, I don't have any more slots available. No.
But you know what? You guys can come back once every month with Dr. Gayle, and you can get your therapy here. It ain't gonna be for free, but
and, and I'm gonna make sure I have a disclaimer, So, but yes. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Gayle. If you guys have any questions, any concerns, are you watching this at a later date? Feel free to drop your questions in the chat. You can slide in a DM and I'll make sure that we get the question for the next show, and keep you guys posted on what our next topic is, and continue to sort out what this beautiful event in June will look like.
Yes.
So I hope you have a very happy Thursday, an amazing weekend, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Always pleasure to be in the same space and community with you. So my love to you.
Have a wonderful night.
All right. You too. Bye.